Welcome back to Issues of Faith. We are talking about what is called a trans-religious place of worship here in Nashville, reaching out to all faiths and also doing some real service work here in our city. We have with us the founder of Infinity Fellowship, Jeff Obafemi Carr. Thank you again. So, as I went to break, you were saying you built the tiny homes. At the time, you had this vision for a place of worship. All faiths come together. 35 or so people were there last February. Where are you now?
Right now we're at about 97, which is explosive growth in the Nashville community, in the Buckle of the Bible Belt. When we started with 5 people in October of 2014, and we said, well, this is a unique idea, but maybe it's just a space where we just have a couple of meetings at the house. We rented a little actor studio in Charlotte, and we just kind of stayed there, and people started coming, word of mouth. Everything with Infinity has been word of mouth. This is really the first time I've been on TV to talk about it, so it's pretty awesome. We say on Sundays that we are the fastest growing infinitude-based spiritual community in the United States. And then we follow that up with we're the only infinitude-based spiritual community in the United States. So
that's marketing.
Right,
that's
it's marketing, right? We say that, and we say it in-house. So we haven't done billboards, we hadn't done advertisements, because it's really a place where we want people to organically hear about it, and people who are misfits to be able to say there's a space for the misfits where you can come and not worry about having conversations that divide you, but just focus on how can we get things done? How can we learn to get along? How can I have a person who considered themselves, they would name themselves a Sunni Muslim next to a Catholic housewife from Brentwood? I mean, where else will you find people who are not arguing with each other, but sitting together and saying, you know, somebody's sick, let's go visit the nursing home and just sit with them for a couple hours and bring them some food. Those kind of things are what very much we're interested in Infinity.
Is that who is walking through your doors? I mean, do you actually have that? You have Muslims and Christians and atheists. I mean, you have all of those groups.
Yes, I've got people who would consider themselves atheists if you ask them. I've got people who consider themselves agnostics. I got people who say, I don't want to be called anything. I got people who say, I don't call God anything. I just know that God is there in me. And I've got people who call God Allah, Jesus, Jehovah, Olodumare. I've got people who worship traditional African faiths, and really they were looking for a space for the same reasons I was, and that is that when they experience people from different faiths, they see the commonality in humanity, and they say, you know what, you might call that agape in a Greek way in love, and it might be a pure sense of love here. You might be calling source, or you might be calling heaven Olorun if you're coming from an Ifa background, but I'm calling it heaven if I come from a Christian background. What's more important, that there is a space of transition for us to be at peace, or that we call it something that makes us fight over it? Well, if we both focus on that space of peace, then we've reached the commonality of humanity. I always tell people the example I use is if you pour a drink, cup of coffee, into a mug, and you want to have a cup of coffee together, and you enjoy that cup of coffee, and you talk about what it tastes like and what it does for you. If you start talking about what exactly you call it, somebody from one part of the country will call it Java. Somebody else will call it a cup of Joe. I'll call it a cup of coffee. And then you get to fighting over what it's properly called. And then the cup gets cold, and it's no good for anybody. It doesn't change the essence of what's inside the cup, though. The cup is there. So we just work hard to try to understand as human beings something that means something to us, and we get caught on the names. But the beautiful thing about Infinity is that it's brought people together. And now we meet at Cone Adult Learning Center on Charlotte, because we outgrew the space that we're in, and we're working to build a space where we can not only hold services, but we can do more community services for people who are in need right now.
You say you embrace the innate goodness in humankind.
Yes, absolutely.
So you look around the world, you believe there is innate goodness. What about the innate, is there innate badness? I mean, what about, it's good to hear there's innate goodness, but what about the other side? How do we deal with that?
How you deal with the other side is understanding that we all have struggles and challenges. Now, there are two ways of looking at things. We look at challenges and we say, this is an obstacle. Well, that's how we look at it if we think that we're struggling with something that's innately bad about us. This is an obstacle. Oh my God, I've got to get through this. I'm being tested. But if we look at the innate goodness, we're saying, this isn't an obstacle. This is an opportunity. We don't ask ourselves when we make mistakes in life, what was I thinking, and then beat ourselves up against the head. We have to ask ourselves, what am I learning from this? And if we approach it saying, this learning experience is going to make me better and improve me, then you're no longer bothered by things. I like the Buddhist saying, we got some Buddhists who come to Infinity. I like the Buddhist saying, they say, there are no such things as good things or bad things. There are only things, and how we react to them determine whether they're good or bad. So how do we shape our life experiences in a way that keep us understanding that we're made in divine image of likeness and source, whatever you call that, and if so, then we are innately good. And these little things that happen to us are unique opportunities for us to rise up and demonstrate the goodness in us and make a change in people's lives.
So many churches have had these noble sort of, they say, you know, we are one community, and then there's something that divides them.
Yes.
And some of them seem almost laughably small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like whether or not you can play an instrument in a
Yes. And then others seem, you know, really significant. Whatever the case may be, something divides them. How do you prevent that, especially in such a diverse?
Yeah, exactly. You prevent it by sticking to a core group of agreements. We have a core group of agreements we call infinitude, and what that is it's limitlessness with an attitude. And we snap. My wife snaps, and that's where the spirituality, nurturing, action, and proof comes in. When we talk about the commonality, it's funny when you stick to the things that you have in common and leave out the things that make you different. Then you focus on how to get things done. So I don't mind if we're saying a prayer and somebody's saying Jesus, 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 and somebody's saying Allah, 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 because we're all united in prayer. And we all understand that that's coming from a common source. The words that we utter just are our own understandings and our backgrounds. And that can change because it's circumstantial.
And the other thing to unite you is the desire to change the world we're in.
Exactly.
The service part of it, right?
To be the change in the service. Nashville right now has experienced, in 2015, Nashville experienced over 60 murders, going on 70 murders, and a lot of those were teen murders. So people are like, how can we address this? We want to address this in the same way that we address the homelessness issue, by providing homefulness. As one of my members says, we don't want to just say we're going to attack homelessness. No, we want to take a positive bent and provide homefulness. So our kids need activity, and they need activity on a different level that's more than just basketball and football and playing pool. So we want to build a holistic community center that will belong to a community in North Nashville where kids can come and learn life-changing holistic practices that let them negotiate life better. What would a kid do if he learned meditative yoga? What would a kid do if he learned conflict resolution from somebody who walked with Martin Luther King? What would a kid learn if he learned how to cook and to prepare a healthy diet and how to grow food from the farm to the table? This puts you in a situation where when you're facing conflict, you're seeing the good in the other person and not the bad. Most violence happens when people don't see the humanity in another person and when they don't love themselves. And when you don't love yourself, you see somebody who reminds you of you and you immediately want to harm them. So we want to create a place where we can bring people together, teach them and instruct them in ways that come from all traditions that help people recognize the humanity in another person. And that's how you provide an innovative solution to the problem.
So you did it with the tiny homes. You reached that goal.
Yes.
And now it's a community center in North Nashville. We have about 45 seconds left. What do you want people to take away? I mean, how can they help, and what do you want people to take away?
They can help. Information is at myif.org. That's myif.org. We keep it simple. Or you can go to gofundme.com/Infinity Center. So just remember Infinity Center when you go there. And we want people to take away that there is proof that you don't have to be divided, that it doesn't have to be right and wrong. And I say that if infinity or a space like infinity isn't for you, then great. Wherever it is for you, just focus on doing the good, and we all end up winning.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Jeff Obafemi Carr, a founder of Infinity Fellowship. Very good conversation. Thanks for being with us. Thank all of you for watching Issues of Faith. Have a great day, everybody.